Welcome back to Stu Studio, Conservative Takes on Music. On August 10th, comedian Funny Marco released his interview for his show Open Thoughts with NBA Youngboy, or as I'll refer to him from now on, just Youngboy. We don't do governments. Funny Marco is a comedian who is known for his show Open Thoughts, featuring A-list celebrities and using long, awkward, funny pauses and very forward questions to catch his guests off guard. But Youngboy seemed to be prepared for an awkward interview and decided to derail the entire thing. Not in a way that made himself look good, just in a way that made the entire show, including himself, look terrible.
You want to know something?
Mm.
You fuck your own interview up.
I did?
Yep. Because you wrong, and you know you was wrong. And by me telling you was wrong, before we started this, instead of sitting there pretending, that shit got your vibe off. This ain't never been our vibe.
He spoke under his breath in vocal fry the entire time. They definitely didn't have to release this interview in its entirety. It is over an hour long, and the whole thing is really just tangents and random thoughts one after another. It starts with Youngboy saying he's just going to live in Korea. He's never going to go back to America again. He says that South Korea is safe and clean, which I think might be due to the fact that they don't have musicians releasing songs like Dead Trolls and I Hate Youngboy. And they talk about food, but they both mumble and talk so incoherently that they don't actually get answers out of each other when asking what their favorite food is or what they actually like about Korea. It gets off to a bad, awkward start. Marco starts just going through his prepared questions, and Youngboy answers them very, very briefly, giving him as little as possible in his answers. You can tell that he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be doing the interview. He's uncomfortable. Nothing about the conversation is interesting to him. Like when Marco asks him how many more albums he has left, we can't even tell if he's serious when he says 1 or 2 more albums and 1 tour left in his life.
How many more albums you got in?
1 or 2.
And then you'll be done? How about tours?
1 for sure. I'm going to tour 1 more time throughout my whole life, and that's it.
I don't know if that means that he's going to put out 2 more albums and then tour for his entire life, or if he's just going to do 1 tour and then call it quits. Because he says he's not really focused on music right now. Someone who is rich and famous for making music doesn't care about it. It was just his ticket to getting rich and famous. And Youngboy keeps answering the questions briefly in weird abstract statements you would hear from a life coach. Even getting Marco to say his mom wouldn't get him a guinea pig when he was growing up because they were fat and gross. But weirdly enough, that's when Youngboy starts to open up.
I think my relationship with my mama used to be a big part of my anger. Until I told myself, like, it's just certain shit you can't fix. Like, certain people you're not going to just bond with in a way that you expect or the way that you desire. Basically, just long for and just hope for. So I started loving my mom from a distance. Like, today, I never speak to her again. Like, we'll never talk again. I know this for a fact.
Although he says he respects his dad, whom he met 3 times in his life, saying that he's a real gangsta and that hopefully he can be a highlight in his dad's life. And he calls and talks to him all the time. So the woman that raised him can get bent, but the man who bailed on him, he respects him for it. And Youngboy himself, at the age of 26, has 11 children with 8 different women. And he said while he's living in Korea, his kids will be in the States, and that's what planes are for. So clearly a family man raised by a family man. But going more in depth about himself, he said that he never thought that he would clear $100,000 a show. But his last tour, he got at least $1.2 million a show, up to 1.5.
I used to tell myself, oh, I never get $100,000 a show. To each show of Master Tour, nigga, I got 1.5. I ain't get no fucking 500. Nigga, I got 1.5 every show. Nothing less than 1.2 a night.
Just picking more clips and pieces from this hour-long interview, Youngboy says that he was born with an enlarged heart, and somehow that might explain his music, which I believe is him trying to sound deep and poetic. But no, it doesn't. He doesn't have a heart for music, and I guess he has too much of a heart for his body. Although he did respond to a fan on live who said they would give him his heart by saying,
Come on, give me your heart, man. Give me your heart.
In further trying to derail the interview, Youngboy says that JFK, who he refers to as JL Kennedy, was sleeping with black women, but he only said that because Marco was talking about MLK sleeping with white women. He thought that Marco might be on that side of the aisle, not that he's not on that side of the aisle. It got extremely convoluted, and you could tell that Youngboy was just tripping over himself, couldn't even follow his own jokes.
You know, JL Kennedy was fucking a black woman.
I
You
wasn't
told
there.
me.
I didn't tell you that.
No, you told me Martin Luther King was fucking a
No,
white.
you-
You say Martin Luther King was fucking a white woman, so I had to double back and play on whatever I felt like you supported the most. And I feel like you support that side of that the most. Not saying I don't support. I ain't that type of person, but so by you playing with one of my forced up on me to be heroes in elementary school, I'm gonna fuck with you.
That's not my hero.
But at the end, Youngboy's alarm went off and he said, well, that means that it's time for me to pray. Will you pray with me? You say your prayer, I'll say my prayer. And then he sat there silently, which Marco took as a cue to say his prayer out loud. But it actually did seem to move Youngboy a little bit, got maybe a little teary-eyed behind his dreads. And they ended the interview with one of the weirdest handshakes I've ever seen and an awkward hug. But my real question after watching this interview is, why are these people famous? Like, how is Youngboy making $1.5 million a show when he doesn't like making music? He is just using it as a ticket to never be broke again, like his name says. And Marco is one of the worst interviewers I have ever seen, but somehow he is getting A-list celebrities on his show. He tries to defend himself poorly when Youngboy attacks him jokingly, when he should be going along with the joke, especially if he's a comedian. And when Youngboy finally starts saying some interesting things about himself, Marco turns it back on himself, talking about his mom and his dad and his upbringing. Like, no one is watching this show for Marco's background and his history. They're watching it because they're interested in the guests like Youngboy. And the world is making people like Youngboy famous, someone who doesn't like making music, makes terrible music, and doesn't like talking about making music, while there are people out there who love making music and make great music, but they are definitely not clearing $100,000 a show. Moments like this in the music industry actually make me respect artists like Zach Bryan, because even though he's not original, he's making music that he thinks sounds good and he enjoys doing it. It's clearly his passion. So stop blowing up shitty rap artists who have no rhythm in their rhythm and poetry, who can't even sing on beat. Skip the pop sets at Lollapalooza and start discovering artists that play real music on real instruments and sing with real feeling and emotion, because they're still out there. They've always been out there. It just takes moments like these to realize that we need to discover them. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Stu Studio, and remember, Jesus loves you.